Imagine a nation with a fraction of the resources of the world's leading military powers, yet capable of making those very powers sit up, take notice, and reassess their own air combat doctrines. This isn't about having the shiniest, most expensive jets in the sky. It's about rewriting the rules of aerial warfare with a playbook built on agility, surprise, and psychological dominance. When such a nation takes to the skies, every maneuver becomes a message, every mission a masterstroke of strategy, and every engagement a lesson the world's defense circles cannot afford to ignore. Pakistan's air combat doctrine has become an object of fascination in Western defense circles because it breaks away from the rigid, high-cost, and heavily technology-dependent strategies that dominate NATO and allied air forces. Instead of building its entire aerial strategy on massive fleets of expensive 4th and 5th generation fighters backed by overwhelming air superiority assets, Pakistan operates on a principle of agility, adaptability, and calculated unpredictability. This unconventional approach allows a comparatively smaller air force to challenge larger, technologically advanced adversaries without getting locked into head-on battles where size and resources would determine the outcome. Western analysts are particularly intrigued by how Pakistan has developed an aerial playbook that turns perceived weaknesses into operational advantages. By focusing on rapid response, dispersed assets, and the use of multiple air bases to complicate enemy targeting, Pakistan effectively creates a layered defense in depth for its skies. The doctrine thrives on flexibility. Planes are often moved, mission profiles are constantly updated, and flight patterns are adjusted to avoid becoming predictable. This forces any opponent to remain on high alert, burning through their own resources just to track and counter these shifting tactics. Another factor drawing attention is the integration of real-time intelligence and command control into decision-making at a tactical level. Pakistani pilots are trained to execute mission changes mid-flight based on evolving battlefield data, which contrasts with the more centralized and slow-reacting command structures found in some larger air forces. This independence at the pilot level creates faster engagement and disengagement cycles, enabling Pakistan to exploit fleeting opportunities that would otherwise be lost in a bureaucratic chain of command. The West also studies Pakistan's doctrine for its emphasis on low-cost, high-impact operations, where maintaining strategic deterrence does not require matching the adversary plane for plane, but rather creating enough uncertainty to deter aggression altogether. By deliberately avoiding prolonged engagements and instead favoring short, decisive strikes followed by immediate withdrawal, Pakistan denies its adversaries the decisive air battles they might be hoping for. This approach has a psychological dimension too. It constantly reminds the opponent that Pakistan can hit hard and vanish before they can mount an effective counterstrike, keeping the element of surprise alive. All of this is reinforced by rigorous pilot training programs that place as much emphasis on adaptability and independent decision-making as they do on technical flying skills. The result is a doctrine that Western analysts see not just as a military strategy, but as a form of strategic chess, where every move is calculated to conserve resources, keep the enemy guessing, and tilt the balance of the air war away from sheer firepower toward tactical ingenuity. The JF-17 Thunder's role in Pakistan's aerial strategy has become a subject of intense study in Western defense analysis because it represents a shift in how smaller air forces can achieve credible combat capability without relying entirely on expensive, imported fifth-generation platforms. Co-developed with China, the JF-17 is more than just a budget-friendly fighter. It is a proof of concept that a nation can maintain modern aerial deterrence through a balance of affordability, adaptability, and rapid modernization. While Western air forces often operate fighters with acquisition costs exceeding $100 million per unit and equally high maintenance demands, the JF-17 can be produced and operated at a fraction of that price, while still delivering effective multi-role performance. This cost advantage allows Pakistan to field and sustain a larger operational fleet relative to its budget, enabling it to keep more aircraft mission-ready and available for rotations during prolonged periods of tension. The adaptability of the JF-17 is a central factor in its strategic value. Unlike many high-end Western jets that require long and costly upgrade cycles, the Thunder can receive localized upgrades and software enhancements in shorter time frames, which means it can stay tactically relevant even as new threats emerge. This includes the integration of beyond visual range missiles, precision-guided munitions, and advanced electronic warfare systems without waiting years for foreign approvals. The aircraft's design also supports multiple mission profiles: air-to-air combat, ground attack, maritime strike, giving Pakistan the ability to adjust force composition in real time, depending on the nature of the conflict. In 2019, during the aerial skirmishes with India, the JF-17 demonstrated that it was not merely a symbolic platform, but an operationally capable fighter that could hold its own against better-known aircraft. That engagement reinforced the notion that performance is not solely determined by the prestige of the jet, but by how it is employed in conjunction with doctrine, pilot skill, and supporting infrastructure. The fact that Pakistan has full control over the production and customization of the JF-17 also means it is less vulnerable to the kind of political pressure and supply chain restrictions that can cripple air operations if a foreign supplier withholds support. This independence is something Western defense strategists take seriously, as it allows Pakistan to maintain operational readiness regardless of geopolitical turbulence. The JF-17 is, in many ways, a physical embodiment of Pakistan's philosophy of self-reliance, cost-effective capability, and adaptability in aerial warfare, making it not just a fighter jet, but a strategic tool that reshapes the conversation about what it takes to maintain air power in the modern era. The 2019 aerial engagement between Pakistan and India became a defining case study for Western defense observers because it provided a rare real-world example of how a smaller air force could successfully challenge a larger and technologically superior opponent through a combination of strategic surprise, precision targeting, and rapid disengagement. Unlike simulated exercises or theoretical wargames, this was a live combat scenario where tactics were tested under the pressure of real consequences. Pakistan's approach in that encounter revealed an operational mastery of timing and preparation. Rather than allowing the adversary to dictate the pace of escalation, Pakistan's Air Force executed a carefully calculated retaliatory strike that was designed to achieve its political and military objectives without crossing into uncontrolled escalation. The operation relied on pre-planned targeting, the element of surprise, and the use of multiple aircraft types, which created tactical ambiguity and forced the opponent to spread its defensive focus. Once the mission objectives were completed, Pakistani jets disengaged swiftly, avoiding prolonged engagement where the adversary's numerical and technological advantages could have come into play. This swift withdrawal was not a sign of weakness, but a deliberate tactic to minimize risk and prevent unnecessary losses, showing a discipline that many Western analysts considered noteworthy. The encounter also showcased Pakistan's ability to exploit terrain, radar coverage gaps, and electronic warfare measures to complicate enemy tracking and targeting. This created an environment where the adversary was reacting rather than initiating, giving Pakistan a psychological advantage. The downing of an adversary aircraft during the engagement amplified the impact of the mission, sending a clear deterrent message while also elevating the credibility of Pakistan's air combat capabilities in the eyes of global defense circles. Western analysts were particularly interested in how Pakistan managed the information war that followed, controlling the narrative and reinforcing the perception of operational competence without overextending its forces. This blend of real-world combat success and disciplined restraint became a blueprint for how smaller nations could defend their airspace effectively against stronger adversaries while avoiding a spiral into large-scale conflict. The 2019 engagement served as a tangible demonstration that in modern aerial warfare, victory is not always determined by who has the most advanced jets, but by who can plan more intelligently, execute with precision, and control the tempo of the battle from start to finish. One of the most intriguing aspects of Pakistan's air warfare approach, and a key reason Western defense analysts study it closely, is its seamless integration of indigenous and hybrid technologies into its combat systems. Unlike nations that depend almost entirely on a single supplier or a homogeneous fleet, Pakistan has built a unique ecosystem where Chinese platforms, locally manufactured components, and carefully selected foreign technologies work together in a coherent operational framework. This hybrid model creates a level of adaptability that is difficult for adversaries to predict or counter. By combining imported aircraft like the F-16 with co-developed platforms such as the JF-17 Thunder, Pakistan maintains a diverse fleet that can be tailored to different mission requirements, giving it both high-end precision strike capability and cost-effective multi-role flexibility. The indigenous element is particularly important because it provides Pakistan with the freedom to upgrade, modify, or integrate new systems without being at the mercy of foreign export controls or political pressure. For example, local defense industries can develop mission software, avionics enhancements, and weapons integration independently, ensuring the Air Force can adapt quickly to evolving threats. This autonomy and upgrades allows Pakistan to remain tactically relevant even in the face of embargoes or diplomatic strains, something Western analysts find notable given the vulnerability of many allied air forces to supply chain disruptions. Another advantage of the hybrid model is redundancy. If one supplier's support becomes unavailable, Pakistan can rely on alternative sources or local production to fill the gap, ensuring sustained operational readiness. The blending of different technological origins also forces potential adversaries to prepare for a wide range of capabilities, since the performance, radar signatures, and weapon systems vary across the fleet. This complicates threat assessment and makes it harder for opponents to develop a single unified counter-strategy. Pakistan's ability to fuse these technologies extends beyond the aircraft themselves, encompassing radar systems, electronic warfare equipment, and missile platforms that may originate from different countries but operate together through locally developed integration protocols. This technical interoperability is a significant achievement, as it requires both engineering expertise and doctrinal foresight. For Western defense circles, the lesson is clear. A smaller nation can create a formidable and resilient air force not by mirroring the technological uniformity of major powers, but by crafting a flexible, self-sufficient, and diverse arsenal that is continuously fine-tuned to its own operational realities. This approach makes Pakistan's air tactics inherently less predictable, which in modern aerial combat can be as valuable as having numerical superiority. Pakistan's air power strategy is not solely defined by the hardware it fields or the maneuvers it executes in the sky. It is equally shaped by its mastery of psychological warfare and the ability to deliver strategic messaging through air operations. Western defense analysts are deeply interested in how Pakistan uses its air force as both a military and psychological instrument, projecting deterrence without necessarily engaging in full-scale conflict. This involves crafting operations that send clear signals of capability, readiness, and resolve to both domestic and international audiences while keeping escalation under control. The 2019 aerial engagement with India is a case in point, where Pakistan's decision to conduct a precise, limited retaliatory strike was designed not just to hit specific targets, but to demonstrate that it had the will and means to respond decisively. By choosing targets that avoided unnecessary civilian casualties and then publicly communicating the limited nature of the operation, Pakistan framed the event as a calculated show of strength rather than an uncontrolled escalation. This type of signaling shapes the perception of adversaries, creating doubt about whether they can engage Pakistan militarily without facing swift and capable retaliation. The psychological impact is further amplified through training exercises, air patrols in contested areas, and visible readiness drills, which serve as constant reminders of operational capability. Another dimension of this psychological warfare is unpredictability. By varying flight routes, base operations, and readiness postures, Pakistan ensures that its air force is never entirely predictable, making it harder for opponents to plan preemptive actions. The message being sent is not only that Pakistan can strike, but that it can do so at a time and place of its choosing. Western observers see value in this approach because it leverages perception as a force multiplier, allowing a smaller air force to offset numerical disadvantages through the careful management of an adversary's fear and uncertainty. This extends into diplomatic signaling as well, where air operations can coincide with political statements or international events, ensuring the message resonates beyond the battlefield. By fusing precision operations with narrative control, Pakistan maximizes the strategic return on each military action, reinforcing its deterrent posture without depleting resources in prolonged engagements. The end result is an air strategy that operates as much in the realm of perception and psychology as it does in physical combat, something Western defense planners study closely because in the modern era, winning the battle for perception can be just as decisive as winning the battle in the air. The obsession of Western defense circles with Pakistan's jet tactics is not a matter of curiosity, it is a matter of respect and perhaps a measure of unease. Pakistan has proven that in modern warfare it is not the size of your fleet, the price tag of your jets, or the brand name of your suppliers that defines your strength. It is the art of using what you have with precision, unpredictability, and purpose. From the JF-17's embodiment of cost-effective capability to the 2019 aerial engagement's flawless execution, from hybrid technological integration to the subtle yet powerful game of psychological warfare, Pakistan has crafted an air combat strategy that forces larger powers to question their own assumptions. It has shown that with the right doctrine, adaptable pilots, and the courage to defy convention, even a smaller air force can command the attention of the most powerful defense establishments in the world. This is why the West is watching closely, because Pakistan has demonstrated that victory in the skies is no longer decided by who has the most, but by who thinks and acts the smartest.